Hello everyone, welcome to SecApps Learning. So in today's video, we will discuss about the Octa and what are the basics of Octa, and if someone wants to start their career in Octa, we will discuss those things in today's video. Because Octa, just like the CyberArk, SailPoint, Octa is also one of the identity provider, the IAM tool, and demand for Octa is huge. If you will see on LinkedIn or any job sites, you will find like demand for Octa is also just like CyberArk and SailPoint. And also, if you are good with the CyberArk, SailPoint, and Octa, you can get a good job with the decent amount of salary. And there are many on-site opportunities if you are good with the CyberArk, SailPoint, and Octa, because Octa is a single sign-on, and SailPoint is your IT governance tool, and CyberArk is a PAM, Privilege Access Management tool. So when these are combined together, so it does provide the strong security, you can say. So in today's video, we will discuss about the key points about Octa and what are the basics you must be good at if you want to start your career with the Octa. So let's start with the today's video. So these are the some of the topics which we will be covering in today's session. So first of all, related to identity and access management, because as you know, Octa is also one of the identity providers. So we will discuss a little about the identity and access management. And I know like already there was a video of SailPoint where we have explained about the identity and access management in detail. So if you want to go in detail, you can watch that video, because in today's video we will just go through about what is IAM tool and how this Octa is related to it. Then we will discuss about the single sign-on, because as you know, Octa is a single sign-on based on the SSO and how it works. Then about the service providers and identity providers, and different types of service provider and what are the identity providers. Then like the workflow of Octa using the service provider and your identity provider. Then the basics about the SAML basics and its workflow, because SAML is also being used in the Octa. So we'll show you how it is used and what you should know the basics about these Microsoft SAML. And then we'll go through the Octa, like what is Octa and about its key features, and what are the like why Octa is the leading in the identity provider. Then about the report like which is released by Gartner every year. So we'll show you Octa is the leading among in that Gartner report. Then the architecture of Octa and its features. So let's start with the video. And also, guys, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe and watch the video till the end, because some of the topics like SAML and your this identity provider, service provider, these topics are being used in different technologies, like in SailPoint also, in CyberArk also, and in other cybersecurity field. You must be using the SAML. So after watching today's video, some of your doubts related to SAML will be clear. So first of all, what is the identity and access management? So you can see identity and then access management. So and okay, so before that, like in identity access management, your SailPoint also, Oracle identity, and you have your Microsoft Azure AD, etc. These are also one the identity access management tool. And generally, in simple terms, if I say what is a IAM, so right identity is having right access, so that is your identity. Identity means we are the identities, we are the humans. We log into our okay, let's say you are working in a company, so you must be logged into your mailbox or Teams or any applications or your WVD or Citrix or AWS Workspace. So you must be putting your ID and password. So those are the identities. We are the humans and log into a particular applications. And what access we have? Let's say you log into the Octa portal or the SailPoint or CyberArk portal. So after login to it, what access you have and how those access are managed. So you might be having some security groups in the Active Directory or some local groups. Or if I talk about related to CyberArk, so there are different safes we have and where we assign the uh, permissions. But that is not related to IAM. That is, I'm just giving you an example. So right identity is having right access. That is your identity and access management. And when I say right access, so let's take an example. There is a L1 team, L2 team, L3 team. So L3 team is the who manages the project. Like L3 team is responsible for upgrade or any configuration changes, etc. L2 is working on the operation. So L2 team will be like related to any troubleshooting part or something you can consider. L1 team will be working on the health check, account onboarding, etc. and looking for the small task. So you can create the groups, AD groups, and you can for L1 there you can create a L1 group for L2 and L3, and then uh, if at let's say if L3 join the company, so you can just assigning the correct group to that L3 guy, so that when he log into the any particular application, he will get the right access, and those identities are managed by a this IAM tool. So it could be your SailPoint or your Oracle Identity Management and Octa. So those your like this you can consider as a identity access management tools. And if you will go with the definition, if someone asks in the interview also, you can explain like identity and access management tools are used to manage the identities. Identities means us. We are the users, and then access your authentication and authorization. So user management and your like password etc can be managed using the identity access management tools. You can create the policies on the this IAM tools. And let's say, okay, let's take the example of Octa or SailPoint. You users are created on the Active Directory, and you have integrated your users with the Octa or SailPoint. So when a user will left the organization, so automatically there will be a work item will be created if you have integrated with it. So as per that rule, automatically that ID will be disabled from your sale point, and then automatically it will be disabled in the AD because it's integrated with it. So user management is quite easy if you are using any of the identity access management tools. Okay, moving to our next thing. So, what is single sign on or SSO? In your company, or if you are working in the IT department, you must have heard about this term, single sign on. So, single sign on means you log into a particular dashboard, and after that, you can connect to the multiple applications. You don't need to log in every time. And the best example is your Google. If you, let's say you log into your Gmail account, so what will happen? You if you will open the YouTube or your Google Sheet or drive.google.com, everything will be logged in. You don't need to log in again and again. The same credential, same identity will be passed to the your Gmail and then YouTube. Then they will just verify, yeah, this user is already logged in, and they will just grant you the access to that particular application. In your organization also, if you, let's say you have integrated Octa with the different applications, So either you can log in with directly to the Okta, and then you can connect to the multiple applications. So for the first time, it will ask you for your user credentials, and then it will automatically you will be logged into other applications, because that identity is already validated at the IAM tool, identity access management tool. But if you are not going with the Okta, let's say you logged into any service provider, let's say you logged into AWS. So when you will just provide your username, or if you will hit a URL, automatically, if it is integrated with Okta, it will redirect that URL to the Okta. And then you need to pass your credentials. Then it will validate those credentials, and then only you will be allowed to log into the service provider, to the AWS. So that is your single sign-on. So in simple terms, you can always take the example of this, your Google, your Gmail. Because when you log into the gmail.com, you need to provide your username and the password. Then if you will open the YouTube or any Google Sheet or any calendar, or if you want to organize some meeting, the Google Meet, you don't need to log in again and again. It will be just one login, and then you are logged into multiple applications. So that is your single sign on. And single sign on plays an important role in the identity access management, or to control the applications. So we'll discuss in the next slide. Okay. So how this you can see this example which I was talking about the Gmail, and these are the other applications. So let's say these are the users. If you are logged to the portal, or if you are authenticating via mobile or any website, then it will pass through this, and then automatically you will be logged into your applications. So let's say the best example again we can take. Let's say you are logged into the your Azure AD portal or some Salesforce. So Salesforce is it's a SaaS based application. So when you will try to hit that, so it will ask for your username and password, and it will redirect that to your Azure AD, or if you have integrated with Octa, it will redirect to that, and where your user and password will be authenticated and validated if it's correct or not, because your user ID is created on AD. So it will validate, it will communicate to AD, and it will see if those are correct or not, and then only you will be allowed to log into these applications. So this is your single sign on. Okay, so how the single sign on works, and this is related to the workflow. Let's say when you are hitting a URL, and what happens then, like how you are getting logged in, because at the back end there will be some features or some users who will be working or validating your identity. So that's why we call it as right identity having right access. So those are validated using the identity providers. So let's say I am the user, and I'm outsider, and somehow I got the link of your Salesforce or your CyberArk or SailPoint, and when I try to hit it, so it is asking for the username and password. So let's say I am providing my ID. So what will happen? It will go to the Okta or the identity provider, and if it will not find, because I'm an outsider, so my identity will not there. So it will reject that. It will block that thing. It will say unvalid or invalid username, something like that. You will get. So that's why this is single sign-on is important in the identity access management, because it helps to just getting the right identity, right access, helping in that. Okay, so SSO works based upon a trust relationship. Trust relationship means if you are using certificate, how the trust is built. Let's say there are two servers, and if you want to build a trust relationship between those servers, so you can use the certificates. Using this certificate, so what will happen, the one server will trust the communication. If something you are transferring, or something if both servers are talking with each other, so that can be achieved using the certificate. So we have two, this service provider and identity provider. In the coming slide, I will explain like in detail what are service provider and the identity provider. Okay. So the first, okay, let's understand about the workflow. Okay. Let's say you opened a AWS website, and AWS website is Amazon website. You have integrated AWS to your Octa. So how you will open? So you will open the Google Chrome or any browser, and you will provide the AWS website. And then what will happen? It will just send the information. Okay. So first of all, let's say you are opening the AWS website, and after hitting that URL, if you are using a SAML between your service provider and identity provider. So what will happen? Your AWS is acting as a service provider, and if you are using Octa, let's say in your organization. So what will happen? Your service provider will send the request to the identity provider using the SAML. SAML will be a medium, because how your service provider and identity provider communicating with the help of SAML, if you are using the SAML or using another single sign-on or another method. But mostly for the web application, SAML is being used. So what will happen? You entered the AWS URL. So AWS is your service provider. So you need the information, because how the AWS will validate this user is correct. So in that case, your service provider, which is AWS, will send the information to the identity provider, which is your Octa. And then Octa, what Octa will be doing, it will check if first of all, it will check if user has already logged in. Let's say user has already logged into the Octa portal. If it is already logged in, then what will do? It will pass the credential to the back to the service provider and confirm that like it's a valid authentication, and then service provider will grant the access to the particular application, to the AWS application. But if let's say user have not logged into the Octa, so in that case, what will happen? Your service provider AWS will send the request to the identity provider to validate that information, if this user exists or not, or if it's a valid authentication. Then your identity provider will check if the user is like correct or not. It will check on AD if it is integrated with the AD, and it will check if the user is valid or not. And then if user is valid, then it will ask to provide the like username and password. Like it will ask the username and password, then it will be validated. And after the successful validation, and there also you can have the multiple authentication, like you can use the OTP, or getting an OTP on your mobile phone on a call, or using the some authenticator. So after just authenticating it, then what will happen? Your identity provider will validate the identity, and then after validating successfully, it will pass the details to the service provider and will say, yeah, this is the valid ID, valid transaction, you can proceed further. And then service provider will after getting all the information from the identity provider, it will just grant the user the relevant access. And that's how you get the access to the AWS. Okay, moving to our next slide. Okay. Okay. So, what are service providers and identity providers? So, in the previous slide, I explained a little about the service provider and identity provider. So we'll explain in detail again. So service provider, okay, let me take the example, then you will understand. Okay, so this is your service provider. Left side is your service providers. Example, I am just taking the example. These are some of your service providers. And right side, you have identity providers, or you can say the IAM, which is acting as a validating the IAM. Okay, so let's say you want to log into your any applications, let's say Salesforce or AWS or Jira, etc. So those are acting as a service provider because they are providing the service. And let's say Facebook.com. So Facebook.com is also company. When you log into the Facebook.com, that is providing some service to you. Like you get a login page, user login, and you can watch the videos, news feed, etc. And identity provider is that is validating your identity, if it is valid or not. Let's say you go to a college, you might be having your ID card. So uh, when you enter to your college premises, they might be checking your college ID. If they find like college ID is fine, then only they are allowing you to enter. So that is, you can take the example of identity provider. They are just validating your identity. If they find it is fine, then only they allow you to enter. And your college is a where you can consider the college your as a service provider, and you can consider your like who are checking your ID card. Those are acting as a identity provider. They are just checking your if you're valid or not, if you belong to the same college or not. So those are the identity provider and the service provider. And service provider do not authenticate users, but they just request authentication. So let's say you want to enter to the college premises. So what they will do, they will just redirect your information, redirect you to another gate or another department where they will validate your ID. They will see your college ID or your Aadhaar card ID or any ID, and they will just verify, yeah, this is fine. Then only they will just redirect again you to the college premises, and then you will enter into the college. So that is your identity provider and service provider. So let's take the example, or the with the workflow we will understand. So in this workflow you can say, so let's take the example, a user wants to log into the WordPress. So what he will do, he will open the Google Chrome, and he will provide the your this URL, like website. You must be having a website, so it will provide that. Then what will happen? It will redirect, like SAML authentication request is sent to the IDP, because if you have enabled the if you are having a Octa or any other identity providers, so to identify, yeah, this user is correct, this user is belong to having the same access, like this user is a part of the company and have the access. This is not an outsider or not a bot or not a hacker. So what will happen? Your request will be sent to the identity provider, and this communication, the communication between your service provider and identity provider is done with the help of SAML authentication. And this is the trusted communication, trusted relationship between your service provider and identity provider. So when the request will be sent using the SAML, and it will ask you to enter your user or something, or some OTP you will get in between. How it depends how you have configured it. Then what will happen? Your user is presented with the IDP login screen. So you need to provide your login ID password. Like it could be your email, or if you are using some user dot something. So depends upon how you have configured. But generally, it's a mail ID only, which you will provide there. Then in the next step, what will happen? You have provided your credentials, your identity credentials. Then in the next step, it will happen, your Okta will verify those credentials if those are valid or not. If those are valid, in this, what it will do, it will just pass the response to the your service provider, and that will contain your identity details. Yeah, this user is fine, we have validated it successfully, and you can allow the user. Then only users will be allowed to log into the WordPress, and this happens so quickly with the fraction of second that you want, you just with the blink, like you are just blinking your eyes, and this will just allow you the login. So this is the workflow of your service provider and the identity provider, and the single sign-on, like how your single sign-on work and the identity provider. And I believe you also got the idea about what are the service provider and the identity provider, because to work on Okta, you will be playing between those only, between your service provider and identity provider. And how this communication is taking place, it's using the SAML. Okay. And guys, if you have any doubt, please comment below and we'll try to answer your queries. Okay. Okay. So this is the SAML. So let's discuss the SAML, because SAML is a language which is used in most of the uh, tools, you can say. Let's say you want to log into your mailbox, there also you might be using a SAML, because it's strong and it's secure also. And between communication between your service provider and identity provider, the SAML is mostly used. This is mostly used for the your web-based applications. Okay, so the full form is Security Assertion Markup Language, and this is the Microsoft SAML, one of the product, you can say, of SAML. And its role is like providing the acting as a medium, you can say. Let's say you want to log into your mailbox. So what will happen, you will just it will, after just providing, let's say you are logged into Outlook, or so you will provide something, outlook.com something. So it will route your request to the SAML, and there you need to provide your username, your email address, and the password. Then your request will go to the Azure AD, and because your Azure AD is synced with the on-premises AD, and it will validate, yeah, this user exists. Then you will be allowed allowed to log into that particular application or the mailbox. So you can say this is totally based on the markup language XML format, you can say, and mostly it is used for the web applications, so that your authentication can happen between your identity provider and the service provider. You can call it as a medium also. Okay, so this is the workflow, and I have taken one good example. I got this example from the Google, so I took this example so that you can understand in a better way. So this is your SAML, like how, let's say you want to log in, like this is the user, and when you hit this application, so first you will log into the SAML, and then there is a trusted relationship between the identity provider and the service provider, and then it will just validate your ID, yeah, this user exists. Then only you will be logged in to your particular application using the SAML. Okay, so let's understand with the example. So as you know, the our government ID is created by the government only, your Aadhaar card, your PAN card, etc. So government is the, like they just create the law, and you need to create your identity created, because those are the government ID. So in this example, we have taken the government is the identity provider, and let's say you have booked a ticket to like you are going from Delhi to Mumbai. So you need to visit to airport. So airport and your airline is the service provider, because They will be taking you to from Delhi to Mumbai. You need to go to the flight, and they will just take you to Delhi to Mumbai. So airline is your service provider, or you can say the flight is your service provider. So what will happen? And also, yeah, your government issued identification is the SAML assertion. So what is SAML assertion means? So let's say when you book a flight, you need to provide some information to your while booking that flight, like your name, your mobile number, your some ID, etc. So those are assertion. And when you enter in the airport, you need to show your valid ID. So that is your validating their ID. And the similar, it's the example similar to your college. So, and you will take that, but like let's say you will get a some ticket from after booking it. So in that ticket, you will be having some information. So you are providing that information at the airport, and you are also showing your identity. So that is your identity provider and acting as a service provider. Okay. Okay, so we'll explain from the beginning because how this ID is created. Because I took the example of that college, but yeah, we can consider this one also. So when you apply for a government ID, so there you need to pass some information. Yeah, you need to pass your pictures. You need to fill your name and your contact details and your fingerprint as well as. So that information is stored with the government to identify future, because like how your Aadhaar card because your every bank is connected with the Aadhaar card, and if you want to withdraw some money also, you can do it using that particular fingerprint. So generally those informations are stored with the government in their database. So when you just go to the airport, so what will happen? The service provider, which is your flight, so they will check your SAML assertion, like in which you have all the informations which you have got from the identity provider. After checking that information, your flight, your airline will accept those details, and they will just allow you to enter and to board the flight. So that is like the SAML workflow. Okay, so I can take one more example here. So let's say you, after completing your 12th class, you want to join a college. You went to the college and you filled up the form, and you have just filled up the form, and you have provided all their details. So what they do, they just store your all information, and then they will just issue some your ID card, which will be used for the identity verification. And then you, whenever you went to college, every time you will carry that identity with you. That will act as a SAML assertion, and they will verify, they will validate it, and after it they will just allow you to enter to the college. So that's your workflow of SAML, and it also just justify the workflow of your service provider and identity provider also, because these are being used in SAML or single sign-on, you can say. Okay. So this is the Octa. So let's start with the Octa overview. And when you are working on the Octa or any identity provider, so you must have the good knowledge about the single sign-on and the SAML workflow and how it is working, because you need to integrate this SAML and your AD integration, etc., with any of the application, because these are mandatory if you want to have a trust relationship between your identity provider and the service provider. So you can build the trust relationship using the SAML, which is acting as a medium. Okay. So what is the Octa? So Octa is one of the identity provider which provide the identity management service, and it is compatible with the cloud as well as and on premises also. You can integrate your cloud applications as well as the on premises applications, and there are many connectors available. You can use that and you can integrate it. And there are also API available, application programming interface, which can be used to integrate, or if you want to automate some task, so that can also be achieved using the Octa API. And as we discussed, Octa just works on the single sign-on. And if you log into the Octa, then you don't need to log into the another applications because your identities are already validated, and then you can log into the different applications. Because as you know, when you, let's say, let's take the example when this single sign-on or Octa or any identity providers were not there. So you need to, let's say you need to log into the gmail.com. Okay, now you want to log into the youtube.com. So for the first time to the gmail.com, you are providing your user ID and password. Then again to log into the YouTube, which is also one of the Google products, you need to provide the username and password. And similarly to log into Drive, your drive.google.com, your Google Calendar, or the just scheduling a meeting, again and again you need to log in. So that is very frustrated. Like you will become very frustrated because every time you need to pass your credentials, username and credentials. So that also was one of the reason someone just used this single sign on, like they just someone came with this idea and this was uh, created. And because that makes our life easy, because we don't need to enter username and password every time. Okay, so what are the features of the Octa? So first of all, it will just help you to provision. Provision means allowing the users to log in to the particular applications. And then it works on the single sign-on, and your AD integration or LDAP integrations is also done with the Octa. Then it also support multiple authentication, and there is a centralized deprovisioning of users. Deprovisioning means, let's say one user left the organization, so it will automatically deprovision. So if that user is already left the organization, so ID will be disabled on the AD, and that will reflect in Octa also. So that if he's trying to access that particular URL or to log into Octa, he will not be able to, because the automatically you can create some policies and some rules which can be used to automatically deprovision the users. And then it does also have the mobile identity management. You can use the your download Octa mobile application, and using that you can also authenticate and validate the identities. It does include your SWA and federation, so lots of things which we will discuss in the coming videos. And we'll try to upload more videos related to Octa and SailPoint, and we'll try to upload uh, interview questions also, which will help you out to appear for the interview. Okay. And with this example, this screenshot, you can understand about the, let's say you need to log into the AWS single sign-on. So for these are the users, first they will log into the Octa. Then automatically it will redirect the your, after login to Octa, then automatically it will be redirected to the AWS. And then you are logged into your particular applications. And let's say in the coming videos, I'll try to integrate SailPoint and Octa and CyberArk together, so that you can see that integration and you will have an idea like how these tools can be integrated. And because in most of the company, they just look for if anyone knows about the SailPoint, Octa and CyberArk together, so which will help you out to grow more, and you can get more on-site opportunities as well as. Okay. Okay, so this is the Gartner report, and you can see your this Octa. Okta is the leading in the identity providers. And then you have your Microsoft Azure AD and this ForgeRock, Ping Identity, and this is also like CyberArk because uh, this is also one of the subset of identity access management. But Okta is the leading among the identity providers, so that's why there is a huge demand for the Okta. In most of the organization, either you will see Microsoft is being used or the your Okta is being used. Microsoft Azure AD, you can say, which is also acting as a identity provider. Okay. So this is the some of the product of Okta, you can say, like which we discuss like few slides back related to your single sign-on. Then it does provide the directory. Your MFA is also supported. Life cycle management, which is also you will find in the SailPoint also. Access gateway API, because in every product now you will see API, they will have their API which can be used for the automation purpose also. And you can get the API details, they must be having some URLs, and using that URL you can always browse to the API and you can go get the API details. And if you want to create some script and you want to automate some tasks, that can be done using those API with the help of those APIs. And these are the some services which are provided by Okta, like related to your integration, directories, AD integration or LDAP integration. Then you have the identity engine and the workflow and devices. In the coming session, we will discuss these services in detail so that you have a good idea about the Okta as well as, and we can start the Octa also, just like CyberArk. And also one more thing, guys. Happy New Year to everyone, and I hope this year will be amazing for all of you. And also, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to this channel this year, and also share with your friends. And from today we are starting the some CyberArk quiz also, which will help you out to just um, appear in the Defender or Sentry certification. So from today onwards, we will be uploading a short video, a CyberArk quiz, and MCQ, like multiple choice questions, and you can just watch that video and you can answer the question if you know the answer. You can answer that question and you can comment below. So it will start from today, and from today onwards every day we'll try to upload uh, a small video on daily basis which will contain one question, which will help you out to prepare for your certifications. If you know the answer, comment below. Okay, moving to our next slide, and I think this is the last one. Yep. Okay, so let's say you got some task and you want to perform some delete, or like you there are many users, 5,000, 10,000, 1,500. You need to delete users from Okta. So how that can be done, like as I discussed, there are many automation, many API is there which is provided by Okta. Using those API you can just delete the users, because let's say there is a layoff. As you know, the layoff is going on in every company. So let's say there is a layoff or something happened, so there are 1,000 users needs to be deleted. So you can create the CSV file and you can provide all the details, and that CSV file you can get it from the Okta. So there is a option where you will find the Okta password health, and that can be achieved using the this report. Like in the report you can find that, and there you can just provide all the details, and then you can just either also you can create a script also, and then that will be used to delete the users which are there, which are there in your CSV file. And also using the API also you can deactivate those users, or also many policies, there are many policies which can be used to deactivate the users. So let's say if some of the users left the organization, So you can always create some rules, or you can have some work item created whenever user left the organization, and that work item will just create an incident, or will just create a flag on Octa, and Octa will automatically disable that user or deactivate that user from the Octa. Okay, so thank you guys for watching this video. And if you come across any doubt related to Octa, SailPoint, or CyberArk, please comment below. And please subscribe to this channel, because in the next year, we will try to upload more videos related to cybersecurity. So, and we'll try to cover every cyber security tools, like your endpoint security, cloud security, AWS, your Azure, and your endpoint also, endpoint security, in which you have the Windows Defender, Silence, Carbon, then firewall, your network security. So slowly we will try to cover different types of cyber security tools, and also we'll start with the ethical hacking and some cybersecurity, ISO certification, etc. So lots of things coming in the new year. So please subscribe to this channel, and you will see amazing videos on these cybersecurity tools, which will help you to grow more and more. Thank you guys, and thank you making this year a wonderful year. And I hope this the coming year will be uh, good for everyone. And have a good day. Thank you guys.